Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin today with an invocation, and please welcome our chaplain, Nick Petrucci.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this honor. Let's pray. God, as we come here today for this meeting, this council meeting with Mayor Gallegos and our city council, Lord, I just pray that you would just bless this meeting, Lord. Give them wisdom and discernment as they go through the agenda for today, Lord. Father, I just thank you for each and every employee of the city of Phoenix, and I pray that they know how important their role is in this city as well, and all the leaders. Lord, I just pray for protection for each and every one of us, Lord, but I just pray that you would be with our first responders that are out on the streets 24/7, protecting and serving us, Lord. So, Father, I just pray that we always remember who we represent, and I thank you for the provision and the opportunity to serve here. I pray this, amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Vice Mayor will lead us. Thank you to our chaplain and our vice mayor. We will call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Ansari.
Here.
Councilman DeCiccio.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pastor.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Thank you for joining us. Mario Barajas is with us today to provide interpretation. Mario, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Hello, my name is Mario Barajas, and I will be serving as a Spanish interpreter for today's formal meeting. I will now take a moment to introduce myself to our Spanish-speaking audience. Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mario Barajas y estaré sirviéndoles como intérprete de esta reunión formal. Deseamos pedirles de antemano, si es que van a dar un comentario público, por favor, hable despacio, con claridad y evite tener distracciones de fondo. Finalmente, pause después de cada una o dos oraciones para que se le pueda interpretar lo que esté diciendo de la manera más completa y precisa posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mario. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances numbered S48689, 48966, 48967, 48971, and 48991 through 49035.
Thank you. I'll now turn to our city attorney to explain the role of public comment in council meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose the opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. Agenda item 1, meeting minutes. Councilman DeCiccio, do you have a motion?
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. Item 2, boards and commissions. Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve mayor and city council's boards and commissions nominations. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. We do have members of the public who are serving our city who are here to be sworn in. I state your name. do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you for serving our city. The council members would ask that you go behind the podium so we can thank you. Thank you for your service to our new commissioners. The state of Arizona manages liquor licenses, and the city of Phoenix serves in an advisory position. We next move to that portion of our agenda. Vice Mayor, do you have a motion?
Motion to approve items 3 through 20 and 23, except item 21 and 22. Noting that item 21 was withdrawn, item 23 was revised and is now recommended for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, signal nay. Item 21 was withdrawn. Item 22 is Brunch House in Councilmember Garcia's district. I will turn to him for a motion. Do you want this here? Would you like to hear the speakers first? We do have multiple people here to speak. And would note that Officer Jones is here with the Phoenix Police Department. We have one individual registered to speak and two in support who are available to speak if necessary, particularly if council members were to have questions. We will begin with Donald Deed.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to come and ask that you guys give Jamaica Graves a chance to obtain a liquor license. Unfortunately, it seems like she's been, sorry, I'm trying to think of, I'm sorry. Well, me and Mrs. Jones, I believe, had an incident, unfortunately, because I have a trucking company, and my trucks were parked in the wrong place. I guess it was parked on dirt, and Mrs. Jones came to tow all of the vehicles, and it was kind of a frustration situation because all of my trucks were there. And obviously, you know, it's very expensive to tow them. And she told him, and I explained to her if they get towed, I would lose them. So we kind of had a heated argument. And unfortunately, right after that, Jamaica applied for a liquor license, and the same officer who I had those previous dealings with became the officer to handle her stuff. And she realized the connection and sent emails and let them know because of that previous dealings that she was going to be handling this situation differently with Jamaica, which seems wrong. So I'll just ask that you guys give Jamaica, a fair chance. She's a law-abiding citizen. She's never been in trouble. I don't even think she's ever even had a speeding ticket. I just ask you guys, to give her a chance. You know, this is her first business, and she's a single mom, and I would like to see her succeed in life, and make something for her kids to leave. Leave something for her kids. I'm sorry. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. We do have LaMarcus Reed and Charles Mcrae here registered to speak if necessary. Do any council members have questions for them? If not, then we will turn to our staff for a brief report.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I am Renee Blakely, the Licensing Services Program Manager with City Clerk. Here with me today is Officer Melissa Jones with the Police Department, and also Lori Van Heeren with Prosecution. The request is for a new liquor license for a restaurant. This location was previously licensed for liquor sales and does not have an interim permit. The 60-day limit for processing this application is September 25th, 2022. Staff recommends disapproval of this application based on Police Department recommendations for disapproval. The Police Department disapproval is based on concerns with possible hidden ownership and police investigations involving the ownership. This application has not demonstrated, the applicant, has not demonstrated the capability, qualifications, and reliability to hold and control a liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand that the other two registered speakers would like to speak, so we'll begin with LaMarcus, followed by Charles Mcrae.
Good afternoon, Honorable Kate, everyone else on the board. My name is LaMarcus Reed. I've been a business owner in the city of Phoenix since 1996. The trucking company that my nephew was talking about, I am the official owner. My trucking company grosses around about $100,000 a week. I have 16 diesels. And the incident that happened with my nephew down there, I went down there and stopped the argument that he was arguing with Officer Melissa. And Melissa sent a report out that she said that I was being investigated for fraud by the Phoenix Police Department, which is not true. Never been investigated for fraud. Never did fraud in my life. It was the owner that used to own the property that was being investigated for fraud, not me. But in all the report, it's LaMarcus, LaMarcus, LaMarcus. That's slander. Don't slander me. Just tell the truth. And I'm here to make sure that the truth is heard. It isn't nothing stopping me. If I wanted the business, I could have bought the business, did what I wanted to do. Me and Jamaica was together for about 18 years. We haven't been together in about two years. But I'm still there to support her. I only have about a year left to live because of the cancer and all the rest of that. But I just want to make sure that she succeeds and make sure that the kids succeed. I had talked to Officer Jones about 2 weeks ago. She said, well, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I'm correct. And I told her the whole situation. My father had purchased a property at 6622 South 66th Avenue. The property is in my father's name.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Okay.
Our final speaker will be Charles Mcrae.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Charles Mcrae. I'm actually a senior pastor in District 8. Jamaica, LaMarcus, they're actually members of my church. I'm also a business owner on other levels as well. The brief overview that I have of looking at everything, my concern is that a young lady that's trying to start a business that doesn't have a background or anything that's being attached to Janika is being attached to her name. So we all know the saying, guilty by association. It seems like she's not just being guilty, but she's being almost ostracized, and her future is being predicated upon somebody else's decisions in their past. And so if she doesn't have a record, if she's not investigated for fraud, if she doesn't have any of those legalities concerning her, why, as the business owner, is she being penalized, or future business owner, for somebody else that's not a part of the business? That part is need clarity on. And then for LaMarcus, again, his trucking company produces the amount of money per week that was given to her, and if all of that can be spelled out and specified, why is the license being held up or not considered? So I just wanted to ask that for consideration, and maybe Officer Jones can give that consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public testimony. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for coming to speak today. So we're a recommending body to the state, and so today I'm going to motion for no recommendation, so it's not for approval or disapproval, so you'll have an opportunity to figure it out at the state. So motion for no recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. That concludes the liquor license portion of this meeting. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve items 24 through 89, except the following. Items 28, 29, 30, 31, 37, 38, 52, 53, 59, 71. Noting that item 36 is continued to December 7th, 2022. Item 68 is as revised, and excluding these items for virtual public comment. Items, no, okay. Then I can go. And can the clerk confirm if there are any other items that should be excluded in the in-person public comment?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There are no other items to be excluded.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Stark. Any corrections? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Items 28, 29, and 31 are related government affairs memberships. Do we have a motion?
I move items 28, 29. Should I go?
Throw in 31.
Okay, I was going to say 28, 29, and 31.
But what about 30?
What about 30?
I think
28,
I
29?
think we have someone who wants to take that separately.
Thank you.
Second. Okay. 28, 29, and 31.
Wonderful. So USCM, National League of Cities, Arizona League of Cities. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Nope.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
Item 30 is the Maricopa Association of Governments. Do we have a motion?
I move item 30.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
No.
Waring,
No.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 6-3.
Thank you. Thank you to MAG for the work that they are doing. I got to join them this week for work on behalf of older Arizonans at the Age Friendly Summit. Item 37 is a public hearing on the proposed I-17 and Deer Hollow Lane annexation. Open the public hearing. We do not have any members of the public here to comment. Close the public hearing. The vote will be held at another date. Item 38 is the public hearing on the proposed 95th Avenue and Broadway Road annexation. Open the public hearing. There are no members of the public to comment on this item. Close the public hearing. No vote is required today. We next move to item 52, which is a contract with Lutheran Social Services of the Southwest. Do we have a motion?
I move item 52.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll turn to Councilwoman Ansari for comments, and I actually do have one question for our staff.
Okay, thank you so much. I have some comments and some questions today. Very supportive of this contract. I think, as we've said over and over again, there's no question that the housing and homelessness crisis on our hands is one of the biggest that we face, and every type of shelter is essential to serving our unsheltered residents. So instead of just continuing to build new shelters, which is equally as important, I'm so glad we're partnering with churches to utilize existing spaces to provide much-needed emergency shelter. Very happy to know that Rachel and Scott are both experts in this program. I know they've run similar programs in Surprise, Avondale, and the East Valley. My office is also waiting on a timeline for the 35th Avenue and Lower Buckeye possible new shelter, and we have more in the works, but also just want to use this opportunity again to call for the need for more bathrooms, cold running water at all of our parks, more transitional and permanent housing, and more shelter beds. But a couple of questions, and I believe Rachel will be answering about this specific contract. Rachel or Gina, I was hoping that you could tell us how many beds Lutheran Social Services is estimating that they'll be able to provide through the iHelp program.
Could you check your microphone? Is it?
It's not working.
There you go.
Test.
This one works. Switch.
Okay, we're good. Stay here.
Sorry
Mike to the rescue.
So Lutheran Social Services iHelp program is estimating to get many congregations to house 10 to 12 people per night at those congregations. So they'll have a congregation that they move to each night and a total of 10 to 12 beds at each location.
Wonderful, but you're not sure exactly how many congregations yet.
So they're hoping it's best to have like at least a 2-week cycle. So have 14 different congregations so that you're at the same one at once every 2 weeks. So you're not putting too much of a burden on any one congregation.
Okay, that's great. It's also my understanding, that various churches throughout the city will be made available for this. Do you have an idea of the hours? Are people going to be able to stay there for 24 hours a day? Will they have to leave in the morning? What does that look like?
Great question. So it will be a centralized location that people will meet at, and then they'll be transported to the location. So it will not be 24/7. They will meet at typically 3 p.m. and be transported to the location for the overnight, for dinner and an overnight stay. They'll also have restrooms and showers available at those locations as well.
Okay. We've had this conversation many times about the barriers that comes with belongings that individuals might have and the need for more storage. Will there be storage provided at these emergency shelters, or where will people be able to put their belongings?
So Lutheran Social Services will handle that. Not all of their belongings will be able to come with them to the congregations, but they'll have a centralized location for some belongings.
Okay. And then will these shelters only be for single adults, or will families be able to use them as well?
We're focusing on single adults for this program.
Are you focusing on a certain age population?
No. It would be adults 18 and up.
Okay. Okay. Relatedly, I just wanted to mention that just yesterday, some members of my team were out at 51st Avenue and Baseline, which, as you know, we've been working on pretty extensively in that area. There they were able to speak with about 20 individuals, many of whom were dealing with fentanyl issues. Many of them were young. And so I was wondering if there's any work we're doing in that regard, or if that could be a renewed focus as well, to really focus on these areas and outreach points with young people. I think with our new public health advisor coming in with her experience dealing with the opioid crisis in Ontario. I hope that that is something that she'll be able to work on here as well in dealing with our unsheltered population. And then in this particular item, I know it mentions that there will be crucial information, and this is a quote, to healthcare resources like counseling and substance abuse care that will be provided. I'm wondering if these resources will be provided on site or if individuals will be referred elsewhere.
So the individuals will be referred through the Lutheran Social Services Network to other service providers, so they won't be provided on site.
Okay.
They can certainly bring providers on site, but that's not a part of the program that we're investing in.
Okay. And then my final comment just has to do with transportation. I think we were just told that we just ran out of our 31-day free transit passes that we have been doing through a pilot program through ARPA. Obviously, this was a very popular program and one that I think we should see expanded. But in this case, will the city be providing transportation for these participants to get to other services if needed? And if not, will we prioritize churches that are close to buses or light rail?
This contract actually provides for transportation for the individuals. So they'll meet at a centralized location, get on a Lutheran Social Services bus or van, and be transported to the location and then transported back in the morning.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I know you and Gina and Scott have been working so hard on this, and I think this is a great model, and I hope that it is extremely successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We have been doing so many things with so many partners. We've done UMOM, Child Crisis Center, A New Leaf, CBI, Homeward Bound. This is our first time bringing iHelp to the city of Phoenix. As my colleague mentioned, our peers in other cities in the Valley have felt this to be a very successful model. If churches want to join and partner with us, what should they do?
They can connect directly to me, and I can get them in touch with Lutheran Social Services.
Wonderful. So you can connect with Rachel. One of the things that Rachel and I talk about a lot is the importance of casework and how many caseworkers and how soon someone can get access to caseworkers. I think this is a good news story. Can you tell us, when you join this program, how soon will you have access to casework?
So Lutheran Social Services will have their staff every night at the centralized location for the pickup. Those staff will be at the location during the dinner service. They will not be there overnight. They have volunteers that stay overnight, but they will provide the caseworker during the evening hours.
Wonderful, thank you. So people can get casework right away, because our goal is to end the unsheltered situation, and so the more we get people resources. And for all of our provider partners, I hope that will be the model where we can get it as soon as possible. Since July 1st, how much have we put into fighting homelessness?
We did an analysis this morning, and since July 1st, 2021, we're at $107 million in various different shelter, rapid housing, outreach, all kinds of services, all in various stages of development.
Wonderful. And that is just the housing portion. We are also doing workforce and other programs throughout the city in multiple departments. So we're going to keep doing more, but I think it is important to recognize that this is an unprecedented level of commitment for the city of Phoenix, and we would welcome other levels of government and other municipalities who also want to do more. Any additional questions? Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Lutheran Social Services for providing the needed services to the unsheltered population. I know they've participated and helped a lot with the immigrant and refugee population, and they also have different services at their disposal to be able to support folks. I think with the new shelter on 28th Street in Washington, we've learned a lot about what wraparound services looks like, and that program's been really successful. So I feel like we need to continue to make it a priority to get as many beds online. Folks are in different situations in their lives, and I think being able to provide different options for them to find a place to stay is really helpful. And a church might work for someone, a shelter might work for somebody else, and so I'm excited to vote yes for this. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I have several questions. iHelp, what it says right here, creates a personalized service plan for each participant and it outlines steps necessary for transition to to a life of stability. If I am entering in a space of crisis and there's no case manager there and they're volunteers, I hope these volunteers are trained to a level that's able to handle de-escalation and a crisis. So I would like to know about the volunteers and the training.
Vice Mayor, I can definitely get back to you on the training that the volunteers receive, but I would just clarify, I'm sorry, that the Lutheran Social Services staff will be present for the evening hours until it's time to go to sleep. They just don't spend the night at the congregation.
Okay. And then my other question is, what happens once there's stability? Where do they go? Where's the transition? Because I think that's one of the challenging pieces that I have heard with several unsheltered population, is that they enter a entity and then are kind of bounced around, and then they just get discouraged because they've been bounced around. So how is this going to be different in the sense of they enter into this piece, and then where do we transition them to?
Vice Mayor, so this program provides just the shelter piece. Everyone will have an assessment, a vulnerability assessment, and then go on to the by name list for a housing voucher in the future within the homeless service system. So whereas Lutheran Social Services might not be the provider of the housing, they'll provide the safe shelter space until those residents are able to get a voucher to move on to their permanent housing solution.
So basically, I'm having an emergency or I need emergency shelter tonight. I qualify for this, or I'm assuming find this agency. I then get emergency shelter for 2 weeks. Did I hear that correctly? Or
there is no limit on the number of days that you could stay in an iHelp shelter.
Okay, so there's, as long as, I think I understand now, as long as I am, I guess we're in the line, because I'm assuming I'm part of iHelp on Monday. I don't have any housing Tuesday. I want to be in a safe space, so then I go to where I need to go to, and there's, I'm assuming, a limit of how many people then can go into the emergency shelter.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, the program will be dependent on how many churches are involved, and as far as the number of beds. I can tell you that from past experience with this program, in my previous jurisdiction, the folks coming in to the program work very closely with Lutheran Social Services, and so they are part of a program. They don't have to find a space every night. They come back to wherever the main places, and they work with those caseworkers to get them into their next place in their journey, whether that be a voucher or sometimes rapid rehousing, in order to get them housed, and they get help with employment and all of the case management services that we're discussing in terms of other programs and what makes it successful. It's more like a mobile shelter. It's not in one place, but multiple places.
What metrics are we using?
So we will use our standard emergency shelter metrics with this program. So we're going to be looking for Lutheran Social Services to tell us every month the number of people that they've served, the average length of stay each individual serves, the number of positive exits from shelter, and the number of permanent housing solutions from shelter.
And those are the metrics we created, or we're anticipating they're going to tell us? Like, you know how I am about metrics, and I want to look at success, and I also want to look at what's not successful, so that then we can determine what we need to do or where the gap is. So I'm assuming, Rachel, you're the one who created these metrics, or I don't know who created them, but...
So these are the standard emergency shelter metrics that HUD creates to determine levels of success within shelter.
Okay. I think that's important for people to understand.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 107 million is a big number. And I just, in my experiences with this, Gina, I talk to you pretty much every single day. You're grimacing. I know it's worse. It could be worse. It could be poor Steve Martos getting the text at 4 or 5 in the morning saying somebody's sleeping at a bus stop. I try to spare you that. He's up, apparently. So, and I'm not trying to be funny. That's happening all the time. I texted you, or called, I guess, last night as I was on my way out of Dornoch at Tatum and the 101. So, and you guys are good about following up where you can with what happens with these cases. I'm trying to recall a success story because I sometimes see a lot of the very visibly same people that I recognize because I do a lot of driving, and frankly, I go around and I'm looking for this. I think my constituents, frankly, are tired of it. I personally am tired of it, and this isn't a reflection on your work, but then you hear the $107 million price tag, and I just don't, I know we're very, very confined law enforcement-wise about what can happen, but we're talking about the metrics. I mean, is this doing any good? I guess if I had to boil down my question, is this doing any good?
Councilman Waring, Mayor, members of the council, the $100 million is at various points in the process of those funds being distributed. And so we need more places for people to go. Mm-hmm. So even the ones who really want to get into shelter or improve their situation, we may not have on any night places for everybody who might be wanting to go. So the first step is to really have expand our capacity for different models of shelter. The pocket shelters, like with iHelp, is a start. Is one more tool in our toolbox. Hotels. The congregate shelters, there's a lot of models that we're in the process. That $100 million investment, I believe that it will make a huge difference in our ability to provide services to people for those who are ready to enter into services. And so it is a very visible issue. Phoenix is not unlike other cities throughout the country that is experiencing this issue. And so for us, our challenge is not only the affordable housing with places for people to go once we get them into shelter or immediately into housing, but safe places for people to be for those who are ready. And as you mentioned, it's hard to see visibly right now, but we do have many projects in the pipeline, and I believe that that investment will make a big difference in our ability to address the issue.
Mayor, if I could follow up. So, and this isn't a criticism of you, your team, or anything, but certainly, but I'm trying to, I can think of one time where the person, it was at 40th and Thunderbird, that the person said they were willing to go to treatment, and then, they were right back out there a day or two later, and I suspect last week we're out again because I got a complaint about a full shopping cart being abandoned. Same thing I was hearing a few weeks earlier. It was just a little further up the street, more by Acoma, for those who are familiar with the area. All of what you're saying is predicated on the idea that the person wants to get off the street and wants help. And other than the one time the one person said, I'll go tomorrow, and I think did, but then was right back at the same behaviors and at the same location within a few days, I'm trying to think of another time in all the calls to you, which have been dozens, if not hundreds. Again, another grimace for those who couldn't see it. Sorry, but I just feel like I have to say something, even if it's not even close to my district, because I do it for downtown too. Are any of the people we're contacting actually? It's great to have the shelter beds and stuff, but if nobody wants to go to them, then it's kind of a moot point, right?
Councilman Waring, Mayor, members of the council, admittedly, when there are substance abuse use issues, it can be very difficult for those treatments and to take or them to be ready to accept services. I can say that for example, our Washington Street shelter, it has been at capacity almost every night since maybe in the very beginning. Ramping up, it wasn't, but it's been at capacity, and we have had many positive outcomes with respect to that. And so the spaces that we have are full, and so those who are accepting are having positive outcomes, and so we have examples of success stories. But it is true that it is for some, it does take multiple attempts of theirs and ours in outreach to get them to a positive place. I wish I had it was a simpler response, Councilman, but I hear what you're saying. I do believe that when we provide the right services for those that are ready, that it is resulting in positive outcomes.
Again, getting back to Laura's question about the metrics, I mean, do you have a percentage of who accepts and who doesn't? Or is that something you're going to start tracking, or?
Mayor, Councilman Waring, members of the council, we don't have it, like I don't have it right now off the top of my head, but that it is something that that is available in the HMIS and the Homeless Management Information System for providers, that we can see what data is available and can provide that, unless you have. Rachel can also maybe speak to that.
No, I was just going to say that's something that we can definitely get from our street outreach providers, their level of engagement with every interaction that they have. So we'll follow up with that.
I guess what would help for me, Mayor, is if we had that also kind of by area, if not district, then at least some geographic, because, you know, the problem downtown may not be the same as the problem up north. So I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see like long-term success stories. Like, it's not enough that for a few days people are off the streets or something. If it's going to be a month later, you're going to see the same person at the same places, which I have seen, then that's not success. Even if they accept, just simply accepting for a few days, that's not changing, you know, where we're at. So, I mean, because it's just a lot of money to be spending. If it's not being effective, then we got to do something else.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Waring, if I may just add a comment. One of the investments that the council made was expanding our internal homeless services team, and we are currently building that team that was approved in this budget as of July 1. Rachel is a product of that investment that you made, and we are actually in the process of hiring someone to focus on data related to our homeless solution services and being able to tell the effectiveness story, if you will, of what we're doing with relation to these programs and all of the services that are in place, as well as being able to share information regarding the timeline of when those services will be coming online, as it does take some time to get things, you know, in place as far as new facilities and those sorts of things. So even though we are not able to provide you with the data that you're asking for today, we are going to be able to come back to you very soon with some much improved analytics, as we will have a full-time person focused on providing that information, because we think that that role is really critical in being able to analyze the outcomes and analyze how effective we are in providing these services. And we know that we're able to look at things individually. We produce data on a weekly basis related to the Washington Street shelter and the outcomes there, but we need to be able to give you an aggregate picture of what the investment is doing and how that's improving our community and how we're actually improving lives, as well as some individual stories, not necessarily naming names, but giving you a feel for the lives that are being impacted, because it is happening, and we need to do a better job of being able to communicate that to you, and that's what the individual that we're bringing on board is going to help us do, as well as Rachel's leadership and Scott's leadership, as well as Gina's on our homeless services team, as that's being built out, and we're able to provide those services in a way that we can communicate better to you all and to the community. So I hope that helps, and we can do that in the near future.
All right, thank you. I'll look forward to that report, but I hate to classify myself as a skeptic, but human behavior being what it is, I just don't know that people's answers to the question, do you want treatment? It just seems like the only time we have any successes in getting people actually out of the bus stops or wherever is if they have warrants. Other than that, it just seems like it's right back to the same old behavior. This isn't a sustainable model. You got people dying out in the street. I mean, it's just, so something needs to change. And I hope this works. But, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing that. And hopefully you'll have some success stories in there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilwoman O'Brien and then the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the question that Vice Mayor asked, as well as Councilman Waring, about metrics. And I know that you talked about the standard emergency shelter metrics. But I'm also interested in the long-term metrics. And one of the things I think we need to understand is what is the recidivism rate? And I use that as, who is returning, how often are they returning, and what is that time frame? Is it 3 to 5? If we can keep somebody on their feet and we don't see them again in 3 to 5 years, is that truly a success? That metric is really important to me. And in District 1, I shared with Rachel earlier that just last night I went to a Block Watch meeting and drove around that community, and it is a community that has quite a bit of homelessness and drug use, and those folks are very concerned and want answers, and I'm asking them to work with us, and they are, and to be patient. But that long-term metric is also incredibly important to me, and I also look forward to when we can look at the data, and I pray that we see a lot of success with these programs.
Vice Mayor.
I would like to thank the team regarding the data, because I think that's key to all of us, because we have a huge investment in this, and trying to figure out how do we define success, because that's what we need to figure out in the data. How do we define success? Because how I'm looking, not just in this particular piece, but it's part of a bigger piece, is then how does Phoenix Cares plays into this, and what data are they collecting? How does CBI collect their data? Now, iHelp, what is happening with iHelp, and what's the data that we're collecting? And then can we see a pattern of possibly an individual saying, okay, they were in iHelp and they came here and they came here. Where's the gap and how do we help? Because ultimately what I define success is being able to help those that want to help themselves in the sense of that, in the situation that they're in, and get the services that they need in order to be successful. I also want to help those that are in the frame of mind or the mindset of, I don't know exactly what to do, so this is what I do in order to numb what I'm feeling or what is happening to me. That's a little harder, and I'm not sure if us as a city, as much as we have put in and we care about our community, if we could do it alone. And that's where I feel the mayor and the council are advocating for others to come help us across our cities, because this is not just a City of Phoenix situation, and we need the resources that we need in order to help our population that is growing. And so I think it's critical at this point. That's why I was glad to hear about the data person, because that's what's going to determine how we're going to move forward, and if we can move forward with the finances. And so I think it's important for all of us to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We'll go to Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you. I believe that Tempe and perhaps Mesa and Tucson already have this program in place. Is there a way to reach out to them and start to talk to them about the success stories, what's working, what kind of data they've collected?
Oh, go ahead.
Sure. Councilwoman Stark, absolutely, yes. Scott and I actually were helped to start the Avondale iHelp program, as well as Surprise iHelp, and then worked closely with Tempe and Mesa as we did that. So happy to reach out to those other iHelp programs to get some of the metrics that they're seeing.
Well, I'd like to see some of the information if you could share with us. I know we tried to do an iHelp in the Sunny Slope area, and we couldn't get traction. So I'm excited to see that we're doing it. But I think talking to some of the other communities that have had it for a while might be helpful.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I think just to add to this conversation, a human aspect. I don't think this is a fight against homelessness. I think it's us trying to provide for our residents. We have over 500 people that have passed away already this year due to heat and for being in the streets. I think if we're going to be as critical, and I know it's a huge subject, but I think the fact that we're being critical on this particular contract of an addition to what's already happening, I think is unfair. The reason there's so many unsheltered folks, there is fault of our own. There's fault in zoning decisions we make. There's fault in the fact that we haven't invested in new housing for over 20 years. And there's fault that we have. And so I would hope, if we're being as critical to Lutheran Services for trying to provide this service, that we would be just as critical of ourselves and the things that we've lacked and not done that have allowed us to get to the point where there's thousands of people on the streets and hundreds dying each year. And so I hope the fact that it's the biggest crisis we're facing right now, and that all these issues and things that folks have brought up do not sway us from supporting this particular contract that I think is very important. And the last thing, to Councilman Waring, I would love for you to come see the 28th Street and any of the other colleagues that want to join us on the 28th Street shelter. I do think this is a hard conversation to have, especially when you're talking about humans and we're relating them to data and metrics. In connecting and in having conversations with those that are unsheltered, that have either been at the shelter and other places, yes, some of them may need 10 or 15 contacts before they say yes to go in. Some of them may relapse and need even more support. And so just reminding folks that we're talking about humans as we're having this conversation. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you. I also just wanted to add to this. I think while it's true that I think the 100-some million that we've spent is incredible, obviously many of it is still in the works, but I think we do also need to recognize that there's 3 very big factors that are contributing to the fact that we will continue to see rising homelessness. Obviously, fentanyl is one, and we've discussed it, but it's also rising housing costs and rental costs, and the fact that people are still getting evicted every single day. So I very much appreciate, Gina and Rachel, that you mentioned that these new shelters that we have started have been very, very successful. They are always full, and they have very good reputations among people as well. Like, I did heat relief this summer in the zone, and everyone knew about the 28th Street shelter. They wanted to go there. They, as soon as they knew there was a couple beds available, they wanted to go there. And we went and visited those people 2 weeks later, and they were still there and having a great. So also, there's a lot of data that already does exist. I think we receive daily street count numbers by the zone, monthly reports out from 28th Street, from Respiro, from CAS, about how many people have been served, how many unduplicated people have been served. And so from my view, I think these investments are great. I have said we need to do a better job communicating them. I think it's clear that, even within our council and ourselves, we're not seeing the success stories enough in some of these personal stories. So very excited about this person who will be focused on this, because I think the city of Phoenix has done a lot. I'm so thrilled that there is more in the pipeline in terms of models replicating 28th Street, because we need to be doing everything we can to help these individuals. I think, asking if the spending has been effective, I think it has, and it will continue to be. We're up against a lot. And we clearly can't keep up with the pace of the challenge until we continue to increase our, housing stock and focus on affordability and everything else that's leading to this. So I just want to add my 2 cents to that, and thank you again, because I know that you are dealing with something that's incredibly difficult, and obviously getting calls from all of us all the time about every issue in every corner of the city. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilman DeCiccio and then Councilwoman Guardado.
Just a couple comments is all. I mean, realistically, you've got to be able to provide the type of data that Vice Mayor Pastor and Jim Waring were talking about, because if you can't provide that, you can provide those success stories. We're putting a lot of money into this. I mean, and you should at the very least be able to do that, and the data needs to be something that needs to be sent over to the city of Phoenix. It really needs to happen. Not to do that, I think, is going to be a problem. The second thing is that individuals, at least this is my opinion, the reason you don't really see a lot of individuals that are homeless during the night is because they are in the shelter beds. The shelters, in a great part, at least from my position, are there for people to sleep there. And then they come out just like anybody else would. They're not going to stay in a shelter all day long. As a general rule, they're probably not going to do that. So, that's why I think what individuals end up seeing during the day when people are out and about, they see the homeless out there. And the reason why is because, at night they're going to go and find a bed because that's where you're going to want to sleep. They're not nocturnal. They're like us, like everyone else. So they're going to want to do that. And then the third is, from my end, I'd like to see more of a focus on those that have the mental illness, what needs to be done. I mean, I think as a society we have a moral obligation, ethical obligation to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. I know that there's a situation and there's some rulings on it that says that, they have every right to do that, but I think it's morally reprehensible to allow individuals that have, either a mental condition that they can't take care of themselves to be able to make decisions for themselves. I really do. I know that's more of a court case, but at the end of the day, why is it good for them to be able to sleep on the street, at 110 degrees? Why is it, why is that morally a higher ground than getting them the help that they need and putting them in a situation where they're required to take the medication that they need to take to get better? That's just more of my 2 cents worth on that. I just think it's just horrible to think that it's okay for anyone who has a mental health issue that they don't have the capability of making their own decisions to be able to be on the street because that's what they choose to do, because when in fact they are not capable to do that. And that's a bigger role, a bigger discussion to have. But I do think that whatever we can do to help those that have those kinds of issues, I think as a society we are required to, and I think it's by God that requires us to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I couldn't agree more. We are talking about humans here. I think I want to thank you guys for all of your hard work and everything that you guys have been doing. I think it's true that we have been spending a lot of money, but I think as a city, it is our responsibility to give people a hand when they need it. And I think that, we've gotten very innovative in terms of taking what we've done in the past and making it better each time. I think for all of you guys that have not gone to the 20th Street and Washington Center that we have there, everyone should go there and take a look. I think the services that are provided there, the way people are treated like human beings. People feel great when they come in there and try to get the services that they need. And I think we do have to look at this a little bit more comprehensive. There's a lot of these folks that would not be in this situation if they had a good job. I think we also got to find out a way, how do we hold these big corporations accountable when they come and ask for stuff from the city, to making sure that when we're building anything in the city of Phoenix where we have some say over it, that we make sure that these are good quality jobs. Because I'm sure that if a lot of these folks had a good job, they wouldn't be having an issue with a lot of these issues that they're having right now. So I think as much as we're saying that we're spending a lot of money, then we also need to be holding accountable the big companies that do come in and ask us for a lot of money, and we hold them accountable, and we also ask them to help provide those good quality jobs that a lot of our constituents need to be able to stay housed, to make sure that they have the health insurance that they need to deal with their health issues that they have. And I think once we don't deal with that, we're going to continue to deal with this issue. And I think as a city, it is our responsibility to continue to help and do whatever it is that we need to do to help folks and give people a hand. I don't see it as helping people. I see it more as us giving a hand to someone that needs it so that they can get back on their feet. And I do agree. I think it'd be great to hear all of those success stories. I know that I've seen a couple of them that have come through District 5. Now that we're talking about Project Haven in D5, I know that we've had a couple of folks that did come in and testify and talked about how they now have a good job and how is it that they've been able to get back on their feet. But I think it's true. I think we should be talking more about those stories, but I do think that one of the problems, not the problem, but one of the problems is making sure we can get people into good quality jobs. So I just want to thank the team for your guys' work. Like, this is not an easy task that you guys are up against, and hoping to be able to continue to support all of you guys.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilman Waring, and then our Vice Mayor will finish us up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Are there, in any of the contracts or any of the groups that we partner with, are there requirements to show success?
Councilman Waring, yes, all of our contracts have required indicators and outcomes that they have to report on monthly.
So you have all that data, and you can provide it, you just don't have it sitting in front of you right now?
Correct.
Okay. So, I don't know, can we have another agenda item or a policy or something to see the success stories, or some kind of report, maybe at public safety or something, so that this doesn't drag on and so forth, or that you're not just sending it to our offices and then people watching at home are kind of wondering, hey, what's going on with this? That's what I'd like to see.
Councilman Waring, Mayor, members of the council, we are planning on providing an update. We can do it for the public safety as well, but for the community and cultural, the CCI subcommittee, I'm forgetting the acronym, for the November meeting, where we'll be providing an update in general on homelessness and can provide outcomes, but we're happy to provide a report on this information in whatever format that the council would like to see.
Mayor, members of the council, we can actually add that into a general information packet as well, so that the entire council can have that information.
Yeah, it's just November seems like a long way away, and if it's coming in so automatically, so quickly, if it was all good news or even some good news, it just seems like we'd be shouting it from the hilltops. But that hasn't been what I've noticed, so I'm understandably curious, like, what do those reports say? But I would also say to really kind of everybody's point, this is a two-way street. This is not a sustainable path that we're on. The fatalities that were mentioned are tragedies, but we've sort of set up a system that enables people to stay on the street, people giving money at street corners and so forth. We've sort of let this go on now, and so now people are dying. We have to have people help us help them, too. There has to be, I don't know exactly what the answer is, but this is just not a sustainable course, and it just seems like it's getting worse. And it was something that I don't even remember seeing at all, certainly not in the district I represent, which is different than other districts, that we've had that discussion, 10 years ago. So it's definitely expanding and rapidly. And I just think if we ascertain that this $107 million isn't doing the job, then we've got to change course to do something else. And I'd also like some suggestions of what that might look like within the confines of court cases and Department of Justice investigation and so forth. Because I think lack of police is also causing a little bit of this too. I wasn't happy to contact Steve Martos at like 5 in the morning on a Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, because somebody was going to the bathroom at the corner of Tatum and Greenway. That affects the quality of life for those residents too, including me. That's not acceptable behavior. So we can't have that and just say, well, that's not going to fly. People will make changes, definitely be unhappy if the policies that we're enacting here continue this. So I would also like some suggestions of what more we could do than what we're already doing. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I have one question and one statement. Can any religious affiliation call and be part of the network?
Vice Mayor, absolutely. It's not limited just to churches. Any congregation is welcome through Lutheran Social Services for the iHelp program.
Okay, so any interfaith group can be part of it.
Yes.
So do you work through the interfaith network? Because there's a whole network that...
I believe Lutheran Social Services does, yes.
Okay.
I think that's how they started.
I was just curious. And then I do want to give kudos out to Councilman Garcia for 28th Street in Washington. When he entered office, that was one of the areas that he wanted to talk about and really wanted to change and advance in the sense of stability and bringing the human peace element to what is happening within our communities. And 28th Street in Washington at first was like, okay, we're going to do what, and how are we going to do this? And we were very fortunate to do and lift 28th Street in Washington. Now, I also know that Councilman Garcia didn't do it alone, and there were many that helped him lift the 28th Street in Washington, but it really was part of his vision of placing, or at least keeping people safe and be able to put the wraparound services that were needed for those individuals. So I do want to give a shout out to him because he does bring that human side, even though we all have that human side. I'm more of a business operator and data, and so I just want to thank him for that, and also thank the council for supporting it and making it happen, because that is one of our successes. There's many, but I just want to highlight that one. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. One more piece of data, since we just renewed our membership with the Maricopa Association of Governments. They had compiled how many housing units were zoned but not yet built, and came up with a number of roughly 200,000 in Maricopa County. So as that supply comes online, that should make a positive difference on this issue. And then back to the item at hand, which is the request to enter into a contract with Lutheran Social Services. Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
By unanimous vote, iHelp is coming to Phoenix. Item 53 is the abandoned shopping cart retrieval services. Do we have a motion?
I move item 53.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We do have Daniel Tennyson here in support and available to speak if necessary. First, we'll begin with Councilman Waring.
Thank you. I just have some questions for Spencer. Spencer, you probably watched my interaction with Gina, and I'm actually also thinking about taking out a restraining order against you, Councilman Waring, but because Spencer hears from me a lot about shopping carts, so these questions are not a surprise, so this is a little bit of performance art. But I contact you probably, I try to leave the weekends alone, but Monday morning, that means you get a list. You hear from me a lot about the shopping carts. I think it's an excellent, well-intentioned program that could frankly be better utilized. But the first thing is they're supposed to be gone in 48 hours, right?
Mayor, Councilman Waring, yes, our vendor, Arizona Cart Services, has 2 days to remove the carts from the time that we submit the work order to them.
And how do they prove that? Because as you and I have discussed, I mean, I've got one example right now that obviously that hasn't happened. It's still sitting out there. It may not be gone by now, but it was sitting out there yesterday after several days. Does that include weekends? I mean, and how do they show, oh yes, we got them within 48 hours?
Councilman Waring, so they do report those back to us, and we also have a validation check, not for every cart, but we do go out and make sure that they are removing those. But it is as reported by the vendor.
Okay. Well, I know what my eyes see, and that, we've talked about specific examples, no reason to belabor it. I don't think they're making that mark. And, sometimes they are, but not all the time. A lot of the issue revolves around bus stops. Sometimes the carts, frankly, pile up. We go out and clean the bus stops, and I was unaware until recently that you don't even go through the process. There is a communication between the bus stop cleaner and the vendor. Is that right? With no middleman. Is that?
That's correct. The vendor for the Public Transit Department, graffiti protective coating, has a direct line to Arizona Cart Services for those removals.
And Mayor Spencer, how often do we clean the bus stops?
Okay,
that's
I
not
do
your.
not know. Sorry.
All right. I see Jesus, so maybe he can answer, because I call in too many from bus stops and I see them start to stack up. So I'm kind of curious what the answer is going to be, because I just assumed it was left to me to call in. It never occurred to me that somebody else was actually obligated to be calling in and maybe wasn't doing it.
Councilman Waring, good afternoon. Thank you for the question. Yes, we've been talking a lot lately. Bus stop cleaning is based on usage, ridership, as well as what we see out in the field. Council may remember earlier this year we started a new contract that we're basically upping our game in terms of cleaning some of these bus stops. We used to do 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes, or rather according to ridership, and we're increasing that based on what we're seeing, because we also are seeing an increase in trash and things left at bus stops. So to answer your question, it's based on ridership and what we're seeing in the field, but we do have a whole host of bus stops where we have absolutely increased the cleaning frequency because of what we're seeing.
So Mayor Jesus, so at the minimum, you're cleaning any one bus stop a few times, it sounds like.
I believe the minimum is 3 times a week, and there's some that we're doing 5 to 7 times a week.
Okay, so sometimes it's every night. I mean, as Spencer can attest, I'll be like, hey, I'm driving, so I'm trying to remember all this. I'm obviously not writing it down, but I try to be like, okay, there was one here, one here, one here. And then I write up little notes to myself if it's after hours, and I send it to you the next morning. But there are many times where they must not be getting called in because they're there, a week later. If I forget, for example, and then sometimes, I've told Spencer and it still doesn't seem to happen. I definitely don't think there's any way that the people cleaning the bus stops can be, every time they see a cart, directly, sending that in, and then that they're gone in 48 hours. That has not been my experience. Some of the time, sure, but definitely not the majority of the time. I wouldn't say that's in any way possible. But it sounds like it's a relatively new program. I'm trying to think if I've really seen it be better, and that might be true. But if you want to save Spencer's sanity, if you could make sure that they're actually understand this is part of your job, because that's every bit as much trash effectively or cluttering up the place as actual trash is when they're cleaning it.
Yes, Councilman Waring, Spencer and I have been talking a lot in the past couple of months because of this, and my understanding is our contractor that does the bus stop cleaning does have that direct line to the vendor that takes care of the bus stops, rather the cart removal, and they'll literally send them a picture and say, here's the location, here's the cart, and then it gets handed off to them.
Okay. These are contracts that come up, so it would behoove your vendor, if they want me to support them in the future, that's part of the deal. So, I would appreciate if they would make a special effort to make sure that they do that. The carts that are full of trash and have been abandoned, Spencer, this just came up. So you can't just take those away, Spencer. You have to wait. And then does the stuff in there have to be itemized and everything, or after 24 hours it's fair game to be thrown away?
Great question. So our program is related to abandoned shopping carts, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to ensure that we are not throwing away anyone's personal belongings. And so our process is to tag the cart, and then after 24 hours, our Public Works Department will go out, determine if the cart is still there, if the materials are still there. It's deemed abandoned, and so they'll discard the contents, and at that point, the Public Works Department will collect the cart and bring it to one of our locations to be picked up by the vendor.
And then there's one company that does this kind of work, correct?
To date, there's only one vendor who has ever responded to our RFP, to our procurement processes. There's only one that we're aware of here in Arizona. However, in this current process, we did have a late submittal, and so that is something that we'd like to explore. Are they able to do this work? What kind of work do they do after this process is completed?
I assume this is a money-making contract, or the one company, or now two companies maybe, wouldn't bid on it. So there's obviously money to be made, and I think it's good for everybody, right? That we basically ransom the carts back to the stores, correct? So they don't have to buy new carts, and we get the carts off the streets, which can lead to more blight and so forth. I just think this is a well-intentioned program. It's a public-private partnership, so it's great. I was excited to hear that we've got two companies partnering up to make sure they get done quicker. It's just, I'm tired of contacting people about shopping carts. It seems like we actually have a business that's getting paid to do this. So I would just implore you to ask them to do it a little more expeditiously than they're doing it. I mean, it's what they signed up for. And it's not like we're talking about millions of carts. I've asked this before, I always think when I see these carts, how many city trucks, because I see city trucks all over as I'm driving around, how many city trucks drove right by these carts, or the graffiti at the bus stop or whatever, and didn't say anything about it? I've talked to Ed Zerker in the past, I think probably I've mentioned it to Jeff too. It just seems like, just as people who live here and work for the city, it would be nice if our employees also had some sort of direct line, like, hey, I just drove by this shopping cart, radio it in or whatever, It just seems like they should all be doing that. I don't think that's too onerous of an ask. So that's something I'd like to see, a little more cross-department collegiality to clean up the city.
And Councilman, I just want to note that Jesus and I have also been working to pull Graffiti Protective Coating and Arizona Cart Services together to work on their process flow and determine, are there opportunities for us to expedite and get it through our process as well, especially for filled carts, which Arizona Cart Services is not equipped to do. So we are looking at some process improvements there. And in terms of working with other partner departments, I think we probably could do a better job advertising and talking about My Phoenix 311, which is an app that certainly is available to the public, but it's also available to all of us as city employees when we're out driving around, seeing what's going on in the community. So to make sure that they know, not only for the cart retrieval, but for other services, that they can submit tickets through My Phoenix 311, that is something that's available.
I mean, most of these carts, Mayor, they're not hidden up in neighborhoods. They're out on pretty major streets. Bus stops are, for obvious reasons, sort of a natural attractor. Again, that's just something I would ask. I just think it is one thing that we could really do well, that we're doing, but not as well as we could. So it's not a reflection on you guys. I appreciate you hearing me out. And I'm sorry I forced you to spend so much time together. But I appreciate anything that can be done to improve the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman DeCiccio.
I'll keep it quick, just to follow up to Jim's points on that. For example, I call staff all the time every time I see a pothole in the city, just because we eventually get used to things. And the thing is you never get used to things that are just not something you want to see in your city. So whether it's a shopping cart or whether it's a pothole or whatever it is, we should always be diligent, even as a council and as a city, of making sure our staff knows, like, hey, look, that's really not just something we want to see here. And it's something I teach my kids at a very young age. How you do the small stuff is how you do the big stuff. And if you're not doing the small stuff, which a lot of people would think is small, calling it a shopping cart, but it's actually a pretty big thing, because that means you're accepting certain things and certain visuals and certain things to happen in your city. Because if you're not willing to even do the smallest thing, it's going to be hard to do the big things. And it gives us a level of success saying we just don't accept that. And whether it's potholes, shopping carts, deterioration that we see in our city, we should just not find it acceptable. A bad street, infrastructure that we definitely should be able to be on top of. But we should be on top of those things all the time, just as a point. So if there's a way to communicate that with your staff, I think you really need to do that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia, Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes, yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Did it. We next go to item 59, contract with the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation for Elevate Ed AZ Workforce Development Program. Noting that the Vice Mayor will not be participating in this item, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve item 59?
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Exciting program. Item 71 is improved bus service. Councilman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question for Jesus, so just while you're coming up. This is a good news item for District 7 and District 6, I understand. But the piece in District 7, just for everyone to be aware, is a 1 mile extension. So to expand transit service to businesses between Buckeye Road and Lower Buckeye Road, also adding a transit connection with Route 28 on Lower Buckeye Road. It is a small one, but I think it's just an example that shows that there is definitely a need for increased transit access in the western part of the city, which is something that we've been working closely together on. I really want to thank you, Jesus, for engaging with my office and community members to understand this need even further and explore paths to address it. Just last week, we met with some representatives from the school districts in the West Valley, and they were mentioning to us that they have difficulty keeping teachers on staff, specifically because of the barriers of lack of public transportation in that region specifically. And I understand that one of the biggest reasons we haven't been able to accelerate expansion of our transit service is because of driver shortages. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about what we are currently doing to pursue both attracting and retaining our drivers.
Yes, thank you for the question, Councilwoman Ansari. We have been keeping a close eye on vacancies that our contractors are experiencing, and I will point out this isn't a localized issue, of course. This has been a hot button issue in the transit industry overall, worldwide, not just even in the U.S. And during the pandemic, as with many industries, we did see, the great resignation, and it is taking a while for some of these individuals to come back. It is mostly drivers because that is the largest contingent of transit personnel. So we are working closely with Valley Metro. We literally just had a meeting today talking about the types of incentives, recruitment, retention, things like that our contractors are undertaking. We have seen some gains in recent months. We did see the peak of the vacancies was about January of this year. And the way we monitor is how much of our schedule are we able to meet, and that number has steadily come down. So I'm happy to say that we've seen some positive movement in recent months. So hopefully we can continue that. We're having regional discussions on how to do that. And as I said, we had a joint meeting today with our service providers and with Valley Metro to talk about how do we keep that momentum going. We've done joint job fairs with Valley Metro for all sorts of positions. And then, as I said, our contractors are doing things like retention and recruitment bonuses to get people through the door and keep them on staff. One of the unfortunate things that we are seeing in the transit industry is once they get their CDL, their commercial driver's license, they're lured away by other companies that pay significantly more. So we're trying to stave that off. But the bottom line is our contractors locally have seen some positive movement in recent months. We're monitoring it very closely, and we hope to see that continue.
You may not know this off the top of your head, but do you know what sort of increase in number of drivers we would need to actually be able to expand services to those areas in Estrella that are so desperately asking for it?
I don't know off the top of my head, Councilwoman. I'm sorry. I can look that up and get back to you. But one of the things that we have been looking at from a system perspective, you may recall that during the pandemic, because of the impacts to the labor force, we kind of shrunk the day. We cut back on the early morning hours of service and the late night hours of service because that's where we were seeing the least ridership. Since then, we have restored the early morning hours. We did that with council's approval last year. We have not yet restored the late night service, number one, because the ridership's not there yet, and number two, because we don't have the labor force available right now. So one of the things that we would have to do is have a full discussion with mayor and council about if the workforce does return, do we restore service to pre-pandemic levels, i.e. late night service, or do we look at other areas possibly for restoring service? Because when I sat here multiple times during the pandemic, I was asked, well, when can we restore the service to its full pre-pandemic level? And of course, my answer then was, we need the workforce to come back. So if we see those numbers come back, depending on how many we need, we can have that conversation as to, do we restore the late night service, or do we look at other areas for potential changes?
Okay, I understand that. Obviously, that's going to be a complicated discussion. I think, obviously, support late night service. I don't want to be put in that situation of one or the other, but I also think it's absolutely unacceptable that there's low income, working class neighborhoods, huge swaths of our city, past 60-some Avenue to all the way to 107th Avenue that don't have the proper service, can't get to work, can't get to school, whatnot. That's also not acceptable for the fifth largest city in the country. So just want to keep continuing having that discussion, anything we can do to accelerate the hiring, because this is that and just the lack of all sorts of city services in Estrella, whether it's the regional park not being built for 20 years, whether it's no libraries, nothing. We don't have buses going there. It's the bare minimum. So that's a big priority of mine, and I hope to work with the council to figure that out, because it is a big chunk of our population. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, first a motion.
I would like to move item 71.
Second. A motion and a second. And then if you have any comments.
I do want to make some comments. As the City of Phoenix runs or is the sole provider for the bus routes in the City of Phoenix, and we also are part of a connective regional piece with Valley Metro. And I think it's very key to understand that we have to make sure that we're operating seamless operations because we connect to other cities. In addition to that, there is a big dialogue, or there is a great dialogue going on with Valley Metro regarding bus drivers, because the City of Phoenix is doing a good job in retaining their bus drivers, but our other connectors, our other regions and cities where we connect, those operators, we don't have enough bus drivers. And so we are talking in a global space of what do we do and what does that look like and how do we attract bus drivers. As I was in D.C. last week, what was advertised was there was 150 bus driver positions, and that they were going to start hiring at $20 an hour. So labor and salary and all that's going to come into play in the near future of how do we sustain ourselves and have seamless operations throughout the valley. So I just wanted to put that out there. The second thing is that I think the one ways that we can add additional routes would be in supporting and really pushing, and on a national, and I'm asking the audience out here, to advocate in the future for this type of system as we go forward for a Prop 400. And a Prop 400E is a statewide initiative, and being able to advocate for more bus routes, longer hours, you're going to start to hear that conversation. And so I want to put that out there because it's very important. It's our transportation piece. And we're going to need you to help us lift that piece. So I just want to put that out on the statement. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you for continuing to push to make sure that our county has our fair share of transportation opportunities and the chance to weigh in on whether to continue our existing structure. And I would say that we want to thank our workforce team because they have worked to make our CDL programs more available for people in our community who do want to pursue a commercial driver's license. Roll call.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
That concludes our agendized item. I will now turn to our city attorney to explain the role of citizen comments.
Thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The citizen comment session is limited to 30 minutes. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. We will begin today with Steve Schumacher, who is online.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I just want to take a minute or two with the mayor, city council members, and I just basically express my appreciation for one of the city employees who is, his name is Chuck Emmert. Many of you know that I've been working pretty hard on my own for the last couple of years to increase awareness and education of Phoenix history. And about a year and a half ago, I connected with Chuck. He's in charge of updating the Facebook page and Instagram and now TikTok. And I think he's become more of an expert on Phoenix history than I have. And he's just been a joy to work with and open to feedback, and accuracy is of paramount importance to him. And I just wanted to say thank you to Chuck and make it publicly known of what a wonderful job he's doing and helping me turn the corner and trying to increase the awareness of Phoenix history and so forth. So thank you, Mayor Gallego. I appreciate the time, and city council members.
Thank you. We'll next go to Ian Lopiccolo.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. Members of the council, I'm here today to talk in favor of a group of citizen petitions that are going to be read into the record shortly. I believe that transparency, especially in government, is very important. And there has been a lot going on recently in terms of Signal and WhatsApp chat uses. Anybody that works in movement, near politics, in politics, understands that one of the main functions of these apps is to talk about things in a way where you don't have to be tracked and you don't have to report it, or it's not going to be accessible information to the public later on. And so it's just clear that some shady stuff's been going on in the city. And so I'm speaking in favor of these citizens petitions because I think it's important that the public get to see and understand as much information that they can from the council. There's been a lot of use of active litigation as kind of like a firewall, and council members and definitely Mayor Kate love to hide behind that statement of active litigation. But I think that is interesting and kind of a reflection of a failure of our system, because it is a clear admission of something being wrong within the system. Because if there's any reason to not speak about the issue while active litigation is going on, it's because you're worried about looking bad and implicating yourselves. And so I just want to make that public and visibilize that at the meeting today. And I, again, speak in favor of those citizens petitions because the public should have access to all the information they want about their politic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will go next to Kim Baker, followed by Salvador Reza, and then to Esther Cook, who will speak from her seat.
Sorry. Thank you. Citizen petition, thank you. Briefly, I was here a couple of weeks ago speaking to the council, and this again involves with the same matter. As I shared with you all, I did receive a death threat that I was a dead nigger left on my vehicle October 21st, 2021. Today I'm here to ask the council and mayor to direct the city manager to get these 3 questions answered for me, for us. Number 1, why did I have to wait for about 2 hours for officers to respond, and they never showed up on October 21st. It wasn't until the next day that Assistant Chief Connolly directed officers to my home. I waited 2 hours, no one showed up. Number two, why is this police department allowing a lead person, David Carson, the private investigator, to obstruct justice per Arizona Revised Statute 132409 when he has text messaged me and all of his text messages meet the criteria of this law? And the third is, am I being permitted full protection of the law per this statute that I just quoted if they won't fully investigate all suspects and leads? And then I'm asking you all to take a look at the attachments A, B, C, and D. These are conversations that took place with this PI. In my last petition, I directed it to the police department, which actually blocked you all out. I'm coming now again asking you all to direct the city manager to find out these questions or these answers to these questions. We can solve this here. Mr. Carlson knows who it is that is involved. He spoke with the people, and it was shortly after his conversation with them that I get this death threat. I can take care of myself, and I'm going to continue to do that. But put my shoes on your feet and just wear them for a while. This has been hanging over my head since October 21st. Wear the shoes and see how they feel. I'm asking you all to ask the city manager to get these answers for me. Appreciate you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go next to Sal Reza, followed by Esther Cook.
Good afternoon. I wish I could say it was a joy to come and speak before you, but to tell the truth, I'd rather not come here, but things are getting out of hand. The displacement of mobile home parks is out of hand. Right now, just yesterday, we found out that in Laura Pastor's district, they're about to displace Weldon Park. They displaced, GCU is already displacing 50 residents. Las Casitas is also being in the process of being displaced. And there is no answer to it. To me, when they tell me that they cannot do anything about it, who controls the zoning? The city of Phoenix controls the zoning. They could zone areas that already exist as mobile home park zoning. Other cities have done it. Austin did it. The state can do a lot of other things, but I'm not going to get into that. There's nothing you can do about the state right now. But you have the zoning control. Right now, GCU and the developers have you controlled. Most of you, not all of you, but most of you have you controlled. Because you accept displacement of people only because they postpone the date that they're going to displace them. You don't even look for avenues. How can you get those people not to go into the homeless situation which you guys were talking about just a little bit ago? How do you do that? A lot of those people are elderly, and a lot of them are kids that are going to be thrown out of the school districts. It's going to affect the school districts too. So what I'm asking you is don't take the hands-off approach. Look into the zoning ways of controlling that. You could declare certain zones mobile home zones. You have residential zoning, you have all kinds of zoning. Look into that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Esther Cook will be followed by Alondra Ruiz.
My name is Esther Cook. I'm here with my husband, David Cook. I live in Periwinkle Mobile Home Park. We have lived there for 16 years. And the Grand Canyon University is displacing us. We do not think it is right to make us move when we do not have anywhere to move to. We are both on a fixed income. Thank you.
Thank you. Alondra is next, followed by Dr. Sylvia Herrera.
Council members, Mayor, my name is Alondra Ruiz. I am a resident at the mobile home park of Periwinkle. Along with the 45 other families, we are still being displaced by our greedy landlord, Grand Canyon GCU, or Grand Canyon University GCU. They own the land, but we own our mobile homes. We are still under the threat of displacement during this national housing crisis, with fear of homelessness. Grand Canyon University originally were displacing us this upcoming October 30th of 2022. Then after meeting with Councilmember Betty Guardado, it was changed to February 28th, which is literally in the middle of the school year. So we complained again, and we reached out to Senator Raquel Teran in our mobile home with our mobile home residents, and then the date was changed again to May 28th of 2023. Our mobile home park is a stable community. We are hardworking people. We are low-income, hardworking people, and we truly fear homelessness. We are in the middle of a national housing crisis, and if we are displaced without compensation from GCU, we don't really know what we're going to do afterwards. Our community would like to get compensation from Grand Canyon University according to the federal guidelines for displacement of low-income residents. GCU's mission speaks of being a Christian university. They speak of Christian beliefs and Christian values and Christian practices. They state that they are intentionally committed to the community. Well, I am that community, yet they're not treating me in any kind of Christian way, and they're not treating any of my neighbors that way either. Excuse me. The process that GCU has taken to displace us has been very demeaning to us, and we want to just ask them to follow those Christian values that they speak of. In closing, I want to ask Grand Canyon University, what would Jesus do? What would Grand Canyon University do while displacing us? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Herrera is next, followed by Priscilla Salazar.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm here today to let you know that mobile homes are the most affordable housing that there is in Phoenix and throughout the United States. Right now, we're in a housing crisis, and these particular developers are wanting to displace the residents out of their mobile homes. Right now, mobile home residents need remedies, not useless referrals to people that cannot help them or they don't qualify for services. What these residents need is an emergency response from the city to look for solutions to this crisis, to look for even temporary fix while you investigate it further as to what you're going to do on the long term. Other cities have addressed the problem by imposing a moratorium on mobile home parks. Other cities have actually created resolutions to address the problem. So why can't the city of Phoenix address this problem that we have? And it's not going away by turning the cheek and saying, oh, it's individual mobile home parks. Every day we're getting calls of residents that are being given improper notices from these developers saying you have to be out in 30 days, 60 days. They have a right to stay in their mobile home park for 180 days if given the proper notice. And yet these developers are banking on the fact that these residents might not know their rights. So I'm asking the city to look at a more permanent solution and to look at even a temporary moratorium on mobile home parks. It's time that the city look at this and take it seriously to come up with innovative and a comprehensive solution to the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Priscilla is next, followed by Alejandro Rodriguez.
I'm sorry, my daughter just stepped out trying to get some of the other community. But we have one of the other gentlemen that's right before
So, and
her.
Priscilla is not here, but
No,
Alejandro
she
is?
stepped out to bring somebody else. But
Alejandro is here. Okay, Alejandro.
Yeah, we're all in
Porfa.
the same thing.
Okay.
Dale.
Buenas tardes a todos, me da gusto estar aquí. No los conozco, pero me da una alegría. Yo vengo de las casas móviles de Mobile Home de Weldon Park. Yo vengo a pedirles a ustedes que nos ayuden porque estamos tan a punto de movernos. Yo tengo niños que van a la escuela. Ellos no les importa las constructoras. Ellos quieren venir con máquinas, sacarnos a todos. No nos dan compensaciones. Yo pago taxes en las casas por el terreno, taxes federales. Yo pago todo y yo les vengo a pedir a ustedes que nos ayuden o interfieran con ellos porque ellos nos dan poquito dinero. A las trailers, a veces unas trailers están valoradas en $4,500 y ellos vienen y nos dan $1,500, o sea, no nos da nada. Yo por eso vengo a este lugar, a uno de ustedes que nos ayuden por los niños, porque son muchos niños en esa área donde van a la escuela. ¿Qué van a hacer los niños al sacarnos todos? Las escuelas no tendrían los niños. Yo les pido que nos ayuden sobre los mobile homes. Gracias.
Gracias. Mario,
Yes. I'm happy to be here. I don't know any of you, but I'm still happy to be here. I live in a mobile home at Welton Park. I'm here to ask for help. We're at the point where they're trying to make us vacate our mobile homes. Our kids, they go to schools here, and they're trying to kick us out with their machines with no compensation. I pay taxes, I pay property taxes, I pay federal taxes. So I'm here to ask for help or for you to interfere in this process. They're offering and they're giving us very little money. We know that our trailers are valued at about $4,500, but they want to give us $1,500. So I'm here to ask for your help. They want to kick us all out. Our kids go to the schools here. What are the schools going to do when they don't have these kids? So we need help for the residents of this mobile park area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Very impressive. We'll go to Rosalva, followed by Carmen Prieto. What? Okay. I think we'll still go. Is Rosalva here? Rosella. All right, Priscilla.
Hi, council members. My name is Priscilla Salazar. I reside at 1631 East Weldon Avenue. It's District 4, I believe. Try to do a little bit of investigating so I can know more or less who we pertain to. We are a small community of 65 to like 70 mobile homes. In our community, we have been united, and some of us for up to 30 years, we've been living in our mobile homes. Emotionally and most importantly, financially, we are not able to just get up and move to pay thousands of dollars per month. I am a low-income single parent, and when what we pay now makes it hard, we have a home that to us as our families is home. This is more than just a notice and get out. We are going to be homeless. This is for all of us, Arizona residents. Sorry, it's emotionally and hard to do. That this affects these laws and acts that are outdated. How do we get offered $1,500 for our homes that does nothing for each and every family? If rent starts at least $1,800, if not more, plus first month's rent, last month's rent, and a deposit, they say we can't move. They also told us that we can move our mobile homes when we know and have been told by professionals that our homes are not movable. If that's not possible, basically we are homeless. If we get kicked out unfairly, we are a low-income community with elderly people, people with mental health issues, single parents, families that need help and are not financially capable to just move to a place that we can't afford. Emotionally, to be kicked out of our homes, that to each and every one of us is where we lay our heads with our children, is very stressful. Some of our residents don't understand what's going on, and it is unfair to know that they are not going to be taken care of. Again, my name is Priscilla Salazar, and I speak on behalf of everybody on Weldon Court, including my family, that we get some kind of help that actually helps, not just some outdated laws and acts that were thrown to us and we don't know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Rosalva here? Carmen Prieto, followed by Dominic Pesh.
Hi, my name is Carmen Prieto. I also live on 16th Street. On Weldon Court, 1631 East Weldon. I hate to see my children because pretty much they've all grown there. I've been there. Most of the people have been living there for 30 years, some of them 20. I've been there 10 years. And if it wasn't for that little place, it's really nice. It's really community, real decent, nice place. Eventually there, we watch our children grow and their children grow in that community. And for one day and another, just slap us a note, you have 180 days to get out of there. By April the 1st, we have to be removed. They offered us only $1,875 to move out. Obviously, the statutes have not been updated. They've been there since 2017, and we're already in 2022. And with $1,875, there's no way we can move. My other daughter just moved into a 2-bedroom. I'm 62 years old. I have a daughter that's also, she's mentally ill. I have a grandbaby, a 1-year-old, and I have my daughter-in-law that's pregnant, that she's due in 2 months. I also have my other grandbaby that I raised there, and my children that have grown there and lived there. And I know my neighbor's little girl, she's mentally ill too. And her name is Sarah, and her little girl is mentally, and she cries. She goes, "Why are they kicking us out?" She doesn't understand, and she won't understand. All she understands is that we're being kicked out, and she wants to know why. She wants to know, where are we going? What are we doing? What's going to happen? We can't answer those questions yet. because we can't look into it. We also asked them out, because they're throwing us out, can we go and apply with Section 8? Will they bring us above, first for emergency homes for us, for the people that do want to go? Most of the people, all of the people, they don't live off of nobody. They live off their own back, their sweat. They all work. We are there. We don't go out in the streets and live in the streets, and which they have choices. Our choice is to work. I'm disabled. I worked all the rest of my life. So I think it's only fair that we get at least a fair something to be moved out. We understand that they sold and they want to build other apartments there. We understand that, but give us a decent price for our home. Maybe they're old, but you know what? We've kept up with them. We put work in it. We put roofing. I put roofing, cost me $4,000, and I'm on low income. I live on disability, and I had to put a roof in, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dominic is next, followed by Luis Hubert.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Dominic Petch. I'm here today to help encourage everyone to stay safe and listen to the science. If it's okay, I want to sing a song to a instrumental on my cell phone. Is that okay? Okay. My time started. Okay. We got this, guys. We got to save lives. Hey, going on you with the pick and roll. Shallow Fauci, I'm in sickle mode. Come on, guys, let's save lives together. My vaccine card, I think I left it in the booth. At the gate outside, Dr. Fauci finna swoop. Jump out, boys, let's Pfizer boys up in the coops. Got my 5th vaccine, but I think I need a boost. Give me the boost! I'm just getting started. We're in this together. We need to mandate vaccines. Let's go. We gotta mandate booster shots. We gotta save lives. Let's go. Let's go. He's in love with who I am. Back in 2020, I was on OnlyFans. Now I hit the Walgreens with it in my pants. I get 2 vaccines, half an hour, I'm a fiend. Had me out like a light, like a light, like a light, Vaccinate my wife. Me and my slimes wearing N95s. Yeah, I social distance, gotta save them lives. Boost it up, nothing nicer. I hate Big Pharma, except for Pfizer. Pass that vaccine to my dog, I swear it makes you wiser. We out here saving lives unlike the science deniers. That 5th booster came in handy. Joe Rogan killed my granny. He takes horse dewormer. It's called ivermectin. I watch Transformers when I'm off that Jenka. January 6th, worst day of my life. Pray for AOC, Alex Stein's wife. Dr. Fauci, I'm in Tennessee. Give us your vaccine for white supremacy, He's in love with who I am. Back in 2020, I was on OnlyFans. Now I hit the Walgreens with a hoodie in my pants. I get 2 vaccines, half an hour, I'm a fiend. Had me out like a light, like a light, like a light, like a light, like a light. Vaccinate my wife. Pass that needle to my dog, I swear it gets you right. Monkeypox is here. Lockdown sound nice. Refuse the science. I don't have it in me. Elon Musk, where's my stimmy? Klaus Schwab, I will eat those bugs. Oh, nothing and be happy? Sounds like a dub. Daddy government, I'll get to my knees. I need that inflation. Make me say please. Those racist Republicans, they are so evil. Don't leave Dr. Fauci, you are my needle.
Thank you, and I will say, as meeting chair, I will review the council rules. I cannot remember rules in this area. All right, Luis, you are up.
Good afternoon. As a concerned citizen of Phoenix, I am here to address the hiring of Nicole Bois Witt as the public health advisor of Phoenix. Her latest position was as CEO of the Windsor-Essex County Public Health Department of Ontario, Canada. In that capacity, she forced closure of businesses and churches, pushed for mandatory vaccinations, and vaccinations for children. She attempted to implement vaccine passports and shut down the truckers who were peaceably protesting. We saw that when the same kinds of draconian practices that were practiced in Canada were put in place in Arizona, the economy suffered, school children suffered, and the general morale of the public suffered. What we need is less government, not more regulation. Such things as vaccinations and masking should be a personal choice, not a government decree. We do not want to see the dictatorial measures that Mr. Witt implemented in Canada take place in Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Patricia Pagliuca.
Hello. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to the gentleman that received the note with the N-word on it and is here seeking help from City Council, who did call out Sarver, the former owner of the Phoenix Suns, for using the N-word and demanded accountability for that, but refuses to demand accountability from the nation's most deadly police force for their continued misconduct and cover-up of all of their egregious mishandling of the 2020 protest. Jim Waring, you're looking for solutions for item number 52. This council seems more offended by shopping carts than a police force that continues to violate our constitutional rights and then tries to destroy evidence and cover up all of their misconduct. I would stop texting Steve at 5 a.m. He has much bigger issues. Oh, it looks like Steve left, but Kurtenbach is still here, who were both passed up for promotion at PPD because no one in the force can be trusted. They had to bring in Michael Sullivan to handle the DOJ investigation, and we all know that he's working for them. So there's not a lot I can say here that has not been said by Black and directly impacted leadership over the past 2 years, or by Dave Biska being on the news, or by everyone that has been speaking out in solidarity with that leadership. I would like to state my support for the petitions that will be read here today. We are demanding that you immediately release ASU's independent report into PPD's violent response to the 2020 uprising. We know that's been available since February and you have refused to release it. That's absolutely unacceptable. And the petition will also read that we need you to release your policy on using encrypted messaging for city staff, which we see that Steve Martos opened up that signal thread with just the top Phoenix employees. We'd like to remind you that it is your job. You are paid to listen to community demands, and yet we have to take time off work here to continue and show up and ask you to take as seriously as you do grocery carts in your wealthy neighborhood, the misconduct of Phoenix Police Department, violating constitutional rights, trying to cage protesters for up to 100 years. It should be embarrassing to you that the DOJ has been here since last August. We don't have any faith in them. We understand they are just police trying to police. It's not going to work. But they have clearly demonstrated they have no intention of doing a valid investigation when they won't even look at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, who was colluding with your police force. And on your website, you have the little hierarchy of how the city should work. We have the people, council, the city manager, and then the police. So as someone that pays your bill, that pays your wage, I ask you to do your job and demand accountability from the nation's most deadly police force. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes our 30-minute public comment. We are adjourned.